Police officers of Reddit, what's the best case of instant karma you delivered to an HOLE driver on the highway? Drive unmarked car on highway. Horrific traffic jam for 15 miles in construction zone. Motorcycle approaches passing everyone on shoulder. Move unmarked car onto shoulder to force motorcycle back into traffic lane. Cyclist screams move it, jackass. Lights go on. Priceless expression on cyclist's face. This was more the universe delivering the karma than me, but still. At a traffic accident once I was directing traffic, waving the on round the roundabout, because they couldn't go straight on as the accident was completely blocking that road up ahead. One car pulls up to a stop directly in front of me, and the driver opens his window to ask something. He's completely blocked me now from the view of the traffic, so I moved to the side and just shout, "I'm sorry, I can't stop to discuss anything. The road's closed, move off the roundabout." He drives a few meters forward blocking me again, shouting through his window. I don't catch everything he says, but it includes at the end something like an angry "Why can't you just stop to speak to the people are meant to be serving?" A car then promptly rear-ends him, as he was blocking them from seeing me, and they didn't expect him to stop dead on an otherwise clear roundabout. That's why I made sure when I wrote it up the insurance companies would know who to blame. I'm not a cop, but I saw this happen while I was waiting for the bus. It was nighttime, and it was raining really hard. This guy in a Mustang runs a red light and immediately gets pulled over by a squad car. Over the loudspeaker the cop ordered the driver to get out of the vehicle and put their hands on the roof of the car, which the guy does. Then, nothing. The cop just left him there for about 30 seconds getting soaked by the rain, then used the loudspeaker again. Next time you run a red light during a storm, don't do it right in front of a cop, dumbass. Then he just drove away. I'm a border patrol agent near a few two-lane highways, with limited opportunities to pass due to all the hills and curves. I will regularly pull over old people driving motorhomes at 45 miles per hour in 65 miles per hour zones. The reason being, is they have a line of 20 plus vehicles behind them trying to pass them. One couple I pulled over were particularly pissed off they got pulled over. When I told them there was line of cars behind them trying to pass, they got all huffy and told me I wasn't a real cop and to go fuck myself. Their records came back clean, so I sent them on their way. About 20 minutes later I see them on the side of the road, with smoke billowing out the back of their camper. Me and another agent pulled in behind to help them. As I pulled the fire extinguisher out of my car, the old lady passenger was like, "Help." He dropped his cigarette in the back. I went in the back of the trailer to help the old man battling the blaze. I managed to put out most of the fire inside, but it had caught the insulation or something, so the fire was on the outside of the camper too. The old man asked if I would give him a hand with it. I said I don't know, I'm not a real firefighter. Not when I was working, but I was in some heavy traffic going into an event center. I noticed a squad car sitting on the median making sure people weren't doing stupid shit. Right as we are getting up to where the squad was, some jackass cuts across 2 lanes of traffic, cutting me off and going into a drive with a do not enter sign. All of this right in front of marked squad car. I made eye contact with the officer as he put down his coffee and flipped on his blues. It was a dark and rainy November afternoon. I was crewed in an unmarked car with my fave partner for this late shift, which we were only an hour into. We were stationary, stuck in rush hour traffic, just trading the usual insults to each other when wham, rear-ended by a taxi. If the face on the driver wasn't sweet enough, when we switched on the blues, his fare told the officer who took their details that the cabbie was on his phone at the time he hit us and wasn't looking ahead, he was fiddling with the radio. Still have some muscle spasms in my back every now and again from that, even though it was 5 years ago. He got hit pretty heavy with fines at court. We got a stopover in hospital and a little compo. Car jumped a stop sign, immediately T-boned them, windshield shatters and everyone is rattled but okay. The other drive opens their door and 2 empty beer cans fall out onto the road. The driver behind us, witness, gets out and says to me, "Today is your lucky day," to which I answered with a blank stare, and he says, "I'm the chief of police, and there's no way you could have stopped." Not a cop, but feel this belongs here. Pull onto freeway. Car barrels across lanes. Pulls up and rides my ass. Starts flashing lights and honking. Police lights come on behind us all. I laugh hysterically. Obligatory not a cop. Driving on a highway at night in the fast lane. Going faster than most of the traffic, but guy coming up behind me is flying. I start looking for a spot to move over, but the road is busy, and I just can't. He comes up behind me and starts honking and flashing me, but I'm waiting for a spot and still haven't found one. Finally get room to move into the middle lane, and as he passes I just give him a head shake, because he's being a knob. Well, doesn't like that. Moves into the middle lane, slows down just to inconvenience me, won't let me pass. Gets impatient with that, and goes flying off. Well, in his desire to focus on me, he didn't see a cop pull onto the highway just a little ways ahead of him. Passes the cop without realizing it, and the lights immediately flip on. I felt like justice was served. Wasn't the cop, but would love to buy this cop a beer. Was driving in a funeral procession for my grandmother. There were about 30 cars in total. As we are driving down a two-lane road, a guy pulls into the oncoming lane and proceeds to pass all of us doing about 30 miles per hour over the speed limit. And when he reaches the front, he realizes there are 2 motorcycle cops leading the procession, blocking traffic on side streets as we go. One pulls the guy over. When we passed him, the cop had his finger about an inch from the impatient driver's nose and is obviously shouting at the top of his lungs. Made a whole bunch of mourners very happy. I was the asshole who got immediate karma from a police officer. I was driving from Texas to Phoenix at night. I'm in right lane when I see headlights behind me. Driver is on my ass and I'm getting annoyed because I'm in the right lane, cruising at the speed limit. He continues to get dangerously close and then hard swerves into the left and accelerates quickly past me, but not before I stick my middle finger out the window and yell "fuck you." Tailgater was a highway patrolman. Pulled me over and gave me a ticket for an obscene gesture in public. Seriously. Not a police officer, but I'm in traffic control. I have stories and pictures. One guy got his truck flown by a crane. That was fun to watch. Another didn't know how to drive the heavy machinery and got himself stuck on concrete highway divider. That was fucking funny. Then I had one dick refuse to listen. He could not park where he decided to park. He was warned to move his car twice. We had the CSO warn him. He refused to move, thinking that I was power tripping and just tattling on him to the big boys. Well, the CSO then hooked him up to our excavator by the rear axle and dragged his truck to where it was safe, then fired the guy for not listening to the traffic girl. It was officially stated as refusal to comply with safety authority and contributing to a hazardous workplace. Another time an asshole ran my stop sign. Then the ghost car behind him turned on his lights and sirens and pulled the fucker over. He was in a cone zone for double the fine for every infraction. Cop told me that today's tickets totaled over $1,200. I felt pretty good that day. LPT, obey your traffic control people. If you are friendly and kind, you better fucking believe we will bend over backwards to help you out and get you special privileges for being nice. If you think you are a special snowflake and are an asshole, you better believe we will hold your motherfucking ass up as long as we can. So be kind. We are humans too and don't deserve the level of abuse we go through. Not a police officer, but I witnessed this. Driving through central Nevada on a two-lane highway, leaving Beatty, I was taking a sweeping right-hand turn when a new Ice Camaro with a very distinctive set of stickers on the rear window passed on the left after crossing a double yellow line and 1. Nearly was involved in a head-on collision with a semi coming the opposite direction, and 2. Nearly collided with the front of my car when he swerved back into my lane. In that part of Nevada the towns are roughly 60 miles apart. The next town is Goldfield, a notorious speed trap. About 5 miles outside, south of Goldfield, lo and behold, the Camaro is pulled over. Thank you NHP. About a half mile after I passed them, the NHP officer was apparently done giving them their speeding ticket. Camaro was clearly pissed, and once he was far enough away, he really took off, and in about 5 miles made up at least half or 3/4 of a mile, and I was doing about 80. Again, he crossed the double yellow line and passed me on a blind corner. When he passed me and was swerving to avoid another high-speed head-on collision for another illegal pass, He apparently missed the fact that the speed limit dropped from 75 to 25 in about a quarter mile. County cop was sitting just past the 25 miles per hour sign with a radar gun and nailed him going at least 80 in a 25. I'm not a police officer, but work with transportation. These stories reminded me of a time I was helping direct traffic at an area we had a water main break. So I got 2 lanes going to one behind me, so I'd let one lane go for a bit, stop to let the other lane go. About 20 cars back I can see this prick in a BMW hopping back and forth to whatever lane I'm allowing to go. So he's finally creeped his way up to second in lane, I'm letting the lane next to him go, and he tries to cut over on someone. The moment he does I put my hand up and stop him, and let the other lane go. He was fucking infuriated, I could see it in his eyes. He then tried to get over into the lane I was allowing to go, and I got to give him the old fuck off, you're going nowhere. When he finally did get to go he stared me down as he drove by, lol fuck that prick. Not a cop, not a highway, still a funny story. Stopped at a red light near a railroad. If a train is passing, it stays red. Simple. We're on a curve and a hill, so I can see the problem. An older gentleman about 3 cars back could not, and decided to pass us. About 5 cars. At a red light, blocked by a train. Well, the red light marks an intersection, right in front of the city hall/police station. Did I mention this was right about lunchtime? He breezes through the light, followed by 3 to 4 flashing lights. Gotta say, made the 5-minute or so wait on the train amazing, because I got to watch them chew this guy out. My personal fave. Local cops had a scam. They put a 45 miles per hour limit sign on an interstate where the limit was 55, late 1970s, and would pull over out of state cars ticket plus a cash bond. Want to see the judge? Sure, he's my brother-in-law. Cop pulls over a mid-20s black man driving a nice sedan with out-of-state plates. The young man comments that this is illegal. He is invited, in cuffs, to see the judge. The judge fined him $50. He refuses. The judge sentences him to 5 days in jail. No phone call, no lawyer, nothing. 5 days later the young man leaves and returns a week later with a number of his co-workers and arrest warrants for the sheriff and the judge. The young man was an FBI agent en route to his new assignment. Oops. My dad's story. Riding his motorbike down a highway, didn't specify where. Someone starts changing lanes right beside him and forces him off the road. He catches their license plate as they drive off like nothing happened. Next day he tracks them down via plate and confronts them about the situation. Did you hit a motorcycle on highways yesterday? Close bracket. They deny all claims. He hands them the fine. That was me. I wish I had seen their face. Not a cop, and not on a highway. Tucson, as, about 22 years ago, I'm sitting at a red light in the left-hand travel lane. To my left is a left turn lane. Lane splitting between those 2 lanes, and on my left is a Tucson PD motorcycle officer patiently waiting the green, which comes. He is making the motions to proceed, but hasn't moved yet when this utter asshole comes blasting through the cross street, blowing his red at like 60 miles an hour. The speed limit is 35. I gape and mutter holy shit as the guy races through the intersection. The cop and I exchange a shocked glance. He holds out his fist, the one that was on the throttle a moment ago. We fist bump, and he flips on his lights and siren and takes off after the guy. It was glorious. Not a cop, but witnessed some awesome instant karma. Guy in a big jacked up bright yellow pickup truck is tailgating my roommate, and I so hard I can't even see his headlights in my rear view mirror anymore. After about 1 block of this, he decides enough is enough and pulls out into the left-hand turn lane and passes us in the middle an intersection right in front of a cop that was waiting in the cross street. The red and blues came on right as we got through the intersection and I calmly pulled out of the cop's way. When the guy pulled over, the cop pulled right behind him and almost sprinted up to the guy's truck yelling at him. Made my week. Not a cop, but this happened to my dad and I, driving on highway in Texas, where the highway patrol love their unmarked vehicles that you would never expect to be a cop. I'm talking the Chevy Malibu, the new Ford Mustang Fastback, GT version, but no GT badge, etc. Anyway, we were in the fast lane, 70 miles per hour speed limit, and this Malibu is doing 55. My dad proceeds to drive up close to him in an effort to persuade him to move over. After about a minute of doing this, the car flicks his lights on for about 2 seconds to make us back off, but he blew his cover doing this. He immediately moves over and gets off at the next exit to regain his cover. Not a cop, but my father-in-law is one. He told me about this guy he pulled over that had a broken tail light. The driver was flipping out doing the whole "I pay your wages, what's your badge number, do you know who I'm" spiel. Phil just shakes his head and gives the guy a fixed ticket, and right before driving off the guy yells, "I hope you fucking get killed pig," and speeds off blowing a red light and getting T-boned by a big rig. Guess what? Not a cop. Anyway, so there I was driving along merrily. I had just dropped my older son off at school and had my youngest in the back. All of a sudden some doucher bag comes sliding into the front driver's side of my truck. Just slams the shit out of it. He stops. I stop. I'm shaking, completely freaked out, and checking on my son. He was okay. So, I look over at Mr. Can't fucking drive and kinda stare at him for a bit trying to get my brain to work. Then, the bastard backs up and drives off. My mouth hung open. I was shocked. A fucking hit and run. However, when the cop arrived he walks up to my window grinning and holding a license plate that Cumston had left behind. Sweet justice. He didn't get away with it. My truck got fixed. All was well. Not a police officer, but saw someone get busted for doing something stupid. I was driving on the highway to work, in the left lane going with traffic about 75 miles per hour in a 55 miles per hour. All of a sudden this asshole gets in the left shoulder lane and speeds past me, as if I wasn't going fast enough. I was just thinking to myself, you asshole, I hope a cop busts your ass. About 10 seconds later I see a cop pull out of the side of the road and do exactly that. Man, that felt so good to see. Side note, I also saw a millionaire who often dressed like Batman drive in his Batmobile that day. My day was already made from the cop, but seeing that made my day twice as good.